feel like I start too many of these podcast episodes now by yawning. And I've actually been sleeping, which I don't normally do. So I don't normally I don't really sleep and I don't really yawn. And now that I am sleeping, I don't it's like I've given into my body and I should have just denied it its requests of sleep. Because now that I've given it an inch, it's trying to take a foot and I'm like, no, hang on, supply and demand. I don't have enough time to give you everything you're after. Yeah. Hello and welcome.
Welcome to the Movement Podcast. I am Pete. My yawning, kind of sleep deprived, but not always sleep deprived, but kind of always sleep deprived co-host is Brady.
I have a bone to pick with you.
Sure.
Now that I've heard you do the intro, because you always do the intro and you're like, I'm so-and-so, and then you come up with like some adjective to describe me that is usually tied into however I've started the episode.
That's true.
When we did our 300th episode, you referred to me because I talked about Leonidas and his 300 soldiers and stuff like that. And you said like mid 2000s film referencing like whatever. I would like it to go on record that I don't think I've actually, at least not all the way through, seen 300. And I was referencing ancient Greece and historical facts and not just some rinky-dink Gerard Butler film. I'd like that to be on the record. That it was a far more sophisticated, far more... not intellectual, not
it was a highbrow
academic.
Reference.
It was a far more
reference.
Academic place that I was coming from. So
you know what? And that's fair. And I like how you just backhanded Gerard Butler there and said rinky dink.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think I did say at the time my ancient Greek referencing / mid 2000s.
You did. So. But I just wanted to remove the film from the I'd like that to be stricken.
Stricken for the record.
But now it's time for me to be transparent and come clean. The only reason I know about those historical events are from playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So it was not legit. Movies, but my academic knowledge was in fact coming from hours wasted playing video games. So
Anyway, speaking of stricken from the record, we are striking 1992 Vote 1 off the record today. We are here for a voting episode, and as is our usual practice, we let the fans vote, Patreon and common folk alike, and we
and the those who support us and the peasants.
we had some voting options. We had Candyman, which I've literally never heard of.
So have you not even heard of the new? So there was a Candyland that came out, like a horror film that came out like 2 years ago or something.
I haven't seen it, but now that you say that, that strikes a memory.
But yes, so that like the new one is a remake.
A remake.
Yeah.
Makes sense. A League of Their Own, which was a voting option of mine. Never seen, surprisingly, as much of a Tom Hanks and baseball fan I am. I'm just aware of it being popular.
I was kind of into that one. I was kind of into that vote option.
It's a weird one because I feel like if I sat down and watched it because of the talent that's in it, I feel like I'd be into it. I just never feel in the mood to watch it. So it's been a weird
Gina
thing.
Davis, Madonna,
Madonna. Tom Hanks. Reservoir Dogs, which is... I've only seen it once, but I have fond memories of watching it, so it's kind of made its way up there on the Tarantino ranking.
Well, and it's just iconic, right?
It is.
Is it not his first? Is that not number one of the fabled 10?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, he wrote a screenplay, which was in 1990s. It's like True Romance or something. And the money he got from selling that screenplay, he then made Reservoir Dogs with. So I think you're right. I think that was his first movie.
Yeah.
And the winner, though. Oh, actually, before I get to the winner, we had something happen that hasn't happened before. We actually had voting options that weren't even voting options.
I know, and I didn't understand. And like, it was one title, and freshen me up on what title it was.
I'm confused if it's two, but my suspicion is some of these people saw one of the pictures of the movies and mistook it for something else. I'm thinking maybe they thought Reservoir Dogs was The Usual Suspects because they said The Usual Suspects.
So one person said Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
And then
someone else was like,
immediately after, someone else was like, The Usual Suspects. And I'm like, what am I missing here?
It's a great movie.
Yes. And what got me about it was the first person who voted The Usual Suspects was just, it was just someone voting. And and I thought, well, maybe they're trolling us. Maybe they're like, maybe they're like, I don't like any of those options. I'm going to interject my own option. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, pal, it's not the way it works, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
But then it also got a vote from Daphne. Like famous? No. Infamous is the wrong. Famous.
Yeah.
On the show. Well, it could be infamous. I don't know. Give her time. On the show she was part of our live stream. She's just constantly, her name is constantly coming up. One of the OG Patreon supporters, Daphne. Yep. And so when then Daphne did it, I was like, is this a double troll? Or like, is Daphne seeing that option and going, actually, yes, that's a better option than your 4 options, so do that one instead? Or was the first vote that was there, did that become confusing and misleading for people? I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But
and then someone else put the Serbian film, which I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that any of those maybe one of those is like has a Serbian director. I mean, it wouldn't be.
I literally have no.
I don't know. Yeah. But either way, it was not enough to swing any votes.
No.
So, and I can tell you, I know the person who made the Serbian film vote, and I don't know that he's ever said anything serious in his life. And so that's...
So don't read it, don't national treasure it and think there's a hidden message there.
No, it was probably some well-crafted joke that completely went over my head, or it was just a really poorly crafted joke that fell flat on its face. I don't know. Let us know.
That's fair. But yeah, Chaplin won. And which is fair. Of note, The Usual Suspects wasn't from 1992, but it is a good film. So Chaplin was the 1992 film that won of this vote. And it was a vote that you put forward.
It was.
Sorry, that's me to cue you up until...
Yes, indeed it was. And it was. It's a film that I've been aware of for a long time. It's one of those Robert Downey Jr. films that predates the MCU, obviously, by a great deal. Also predates Robert Downey Jr.'s like big legal trouble, right? Like his drug use and stuff like that. And so it was like pre-Robert Downey Jr. sabotaging his own career. It was while he was still like up and coming.
I was curious how this fit into the timeline when he went off the rails, so to speak, in his career. And then, he obviously came back in a big way, but I just wasn't sure where this fit in.
So I had never seen it all. I hadn't seen this film. I had seen bits and pieces.
I'm surprised by that, just because I look at the votes and I count them and put them where they go and add them up. And
ignore the ones you don't like and rig the game. Yeah, I know.
And, make up a bunch of burner accounts just to be like, oh, yeah, look. The Lost in Translation won again.
Third week in a row. I just don't know how that happens.
That and the holiday just keeps winning.
Yeah.
And I sometimes I can see patterns and I'm like, oh, Brady's, relatives or close friends all voting for this one. I've got a hunch that this might be one that Brady has chosen because it's something that he watches every, 4th of July or something. And then, well, it's not always the case, but sometimes it'll turn out you're like, yeah, I, Brady, have watched this all the time when I watch it with my parents every Christmas, and I do this or I do that. So I think my Spidey sensors were like, oh, this has kind of got his followers kind of stirred up a little bit here. I wonder if this is like his go-to movie, but I was wrong.
Now, before we get into initial impressions, I have 2 questions.
Sure.
3 questions. I have a series of questions. 1, okay. Do you have any trivia?
I do, just more of like me sharing something, so it's not in the form of a question. But
okay,
I do.
And is it the thing that I think it is? Is it cast related?
I don't know.
Okay, so then I have a question. Have you deep diven into the cast?
I mean, I thought I had, but now I'm second guessing.
Okay. So my question for you, and maybe you've already figured this out, maybe you haven't.
Yep.
Which cast member has a blood relation to Charles Chaplin?
Oh.
And what is that relation?
Oh, I have zero clue.
Okay. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that, is it A? Well, no, I mean, the last name is the same, so that's not going to work. Okay. So I'll just tell you.
Is it Sean Connery?
Yeah. Nicholas Cage.
Mary Jo Chaplin, or Robert Downey Jr.?
So, in the movie, Charlie's mother, Hannah Chaplin, is played by none other than Geraldine Chaplin.
Interesting.
Who is the daughter of Una and Charlie Chaplin.
And remind me, which one was Una?
The one that's with him to the end.
Oh, no
that they
way.
have like 7 children together or something.
That is so wild.
Yeah. So Charlie Chaplin's daughter in this film essentially played her own grandmother. And yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. That's such a cool, what a fun little nugget.
Fun little nugget, but just like putting yourself in the shoes, that's like some Inception level stuff, or like some Interstellar stuff where like you are playing your grandparent at a younger age.
Well, and not just I guess
it's not grandparent, but like whatever.
Yeah, playing your grandmother.
Grandmother, yeah, I guess.
Right, and so not just playing your grandmother, but stepping into the shoes of playing your grandmother who has a debilitating mental condition.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, to do that justice and do it honorably and do it, it would have just been like a really fascinating process and mental experience, I think, for Geraldine Chaplin to have played this role. So, yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Which I kind of wonder then, and we'll get into this because it's going to take me some time to do some deep digging.
Yeah.
But I wonder if, because Geraldine was born in 1944, which means there's a good chance that there's a baby in this film portraying her, that she's in this film as a character. Right? I don't know. Anyways, let's get into initial impression. Oh no, you have trivia. You've got some trivia to drop.
Yeah, I have to. Well, might not be dropping for other people, but they were news to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I just had no idea that Charles Chaplin was British. That was just. I thought
you were going to say it was real. I'm like, no. Hang on a second.
Could you imagine? That he was British. For some reason, I wasn't aware. Another piece that was completely shocking to me, blew my world, changed my worldview, is the component of this movie that spared no expense.
Which is?
The director being Richard Attenborough.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah. I knew he had a well-accomplished career prior to Jurassic Park, and it was all classified as stuff that never crossed my paths, didn't cross my alignment of interests, but it just was what it was. But I didn't realize he was an accomplished director as well, and of, like this, some quite bigger things. So I found it interesting, and it was just like old friend that you go, wow, good for you. I didn't realize you could play the saxophone and do your own taxes. And you go, you're just surprising me every day with your talents.
Right.
I thought that was cool.
Right. Yeah.
And the last thing is just impressive. RDJ getting the Oscar nod for Best Actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like that's it. That's the point. Like that's quite an accomplishment for, an iconic portrayal of an iconic, very important actor.
Oh, for sure.
So,
for sure. Yeah.
That's cool.
So I looked it up. I don't believe that she is portrayed in this film. But what I do see is that her first she's been acting since the 50s. And the first couple of projects that she's in are films directed by her dad.
Oh, interesting.
So she was in a couple of those silent Charlie Chaplin films. She would have been acting alongside the Tramp. Yeah, it's just I'm curious. So cool.
In this film that we watched, Chaplin from 1992, at the very end, there's, I'm not sure which Charlie Chaplin movie that's shown at the Oscars, but the one where he's chasing the child in the back of the truck and like consoling them and taking them from the jailhouse. I'm just curious who played that child, if it was one of his children or if it was someone random.
Right. Yeah. Could be.
That's interesting.
Could be. All right. Initial impressions.
Sure.
I went into this film excited. Like I said, I had not seen it.
Sure.
But it was always on my list. It was a film that I knew at some point I was going to have to see, but it just for some reason never cracked the like, that's what we're choosing for movie night tonight type thing.
Yeah.
It always just kind of got bumped out by something else. But I did, I really wanted to see this film. I knew at some point, because I'm a fan of Charlie Chaplin, I'm a fan of Robert Downey Jr., and so, it was going to have to happen at some point. The moments in this movie that are special, there are definitely some really special moments in this movie, and the special moments are incredibly special. Having said that, I don't think that this film ultimately understood the assignment. Yeah. And we'll get into that. We'll get into why I feel that way and what I think it could have done differently, what my real issues with it are. And I think ultimately it comes down to two main things. But yeah, I didn't walk out of, I went into it thinking, you know what, I'm going to walk out of this. This is going to be one of those films. It's just going to be one of those films that is an instant classic and you love it and it's heartwarming. It's going to be right up there on the shelf alongside Walk the Line. It's going to be this just incredible, in-depth, rich human story. And it has elements of that. But I think ultimately, no offense, Sir Richard, I assume he's a sir, just did not understand the assignment. Put it together relatively well, but it's not, what they delivered is not what, he's not even a knight. And never mind. It's not Sir Richard. And maybe this film is why. But he is the Lord of Attenborough? What in the hell? So anyways, I think what it's...
Is his brother a sir or a lord?
David? I would have to imagine David. Sir David, yes. Well, he is, of course.
If you narrate Planet Earth.
The lover of animals. And who the hell's his other brother, John Attenborough? Does anyone even care about this guy?
I'm sure their mom does.
Well, I mean, he died 11 years ago, and
she still probably loves him.
Well, she's probably dead, but anyways,
you don't know that.
Anyways, I think ultimately what this film submitted as its final assignment, as its work, is not what was in the rubric. Was not what was in the syllabus. So,
interesting.
Yeah. What say you?
All right. So for my initial impression, let me just peel the curtain back and just kind of give some insight here. In our region, I was looking up the cheapest way to watch this movie.
Our region being North America? Like, where are we at?
Canada.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. You could be like Ontario. We could have been talking about counties.
No, Canada.
Every time Carl's on the podcast, he likes to give like his street name and like.
I know. My gosh.
Like the man's just fearless. So I don't know where you were like, GPS coordinates, what we were talking about. But okay. Canada.
He does do that. But yeah, in our region, the cheapest way to rent it was, no product placement here, but iTunes for $2.
All right.
$2. $2 is not a lot of money. And I spent the $2 and downloaded it on my iPad and watched it. And here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
I have regrets.
Huh.
I regret not spending the extra $5 and just purchasing it.
Ooh, you sly, backhanded, friggin' okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that you could always watch it on a lesser medium, which is your iPad.
Let me just clarify, because actually that's true. I do have that MO. I did put it on my TV. Okay. It's not a smart TV, so I have to like hook up the USB key or the USB cord to my iPad and
right.
Yada yada. So I did watch it properly. But my hot take for this is this movie has the bones and infrastructure for a masterpiece. I'd say it's good. It's not exquisite. So I think if a few things had been different in the circumstances of it being made, we might be talking tonight about a top 10 film for me. And it just wasn't quite there for me. I don't know if it was remade in modern day and maybe some more modern day filming techniques and narratives might have done it a bit more justice. I do wonder if a higher budget, it was a $31 million budget, which is not nothing. It's not an indie or low budget film by any mean, but I do wonder if it, given in a modern day context and a bigger budget and production value, it might have had a bit more success in my books. But you know what? I still think it's good. And it's just not top 10 good. And, I think what really scratched an itch for me is I really got a huge Great Gatsby comparison here. And when we're talking comps, both period pieces in the early 20s, both tales of men with nothing who come from nothing but gain everything. But it all kind of comes with a melancholy past of, an early lost love. And with these men, they're both kind of haunted by a specific flaw in their character. So that kind of hit a lot of boxes on other tales that I think are iconic or good, whether it be an iconic novel in The Great Gatsby or one of the most iconic actors in the film industry. So the more I kind of thought about what I was watching and things that happen on screen, I was really impressed. But there were some shortcomings for sure from it being, superb.
Right. It's worth noting this film was a financial disaster.
Yeah, it really had mixed results.
Right? A budget of $31 million.
Okay.
Plus your marketing costs.
Plus
distribution, so on and so forth. Brought in $12 million worldwide at the box office. Yeah, big flop.
Yeah.
Big flop. So, all right, let's get into this. Let's talk first about cast. We don't always talk about cast, but when you have a cast like this, I think it's worth mentioning. So obviously there's Robert Downey Jr., who I think is fantastic in this role.
The Oscar Academy also thought so with a nomination.
Normally would not have touched on, but again, worth mentioning, Charlie Chaplin's daughter, Geraldine Chaplin, is also in this. That's fun.
It is.
Anthony Hopkins.
I mean, come on.
Right? Dan Aykroyd.
Also, come on.
Marissa Tomei.
I would say a blink and you miss it role.
Yeah, sure.
Not as a degrade, but just it's a very brief, glimpse. And of note, I didn't. I kind of put some puzzle pieces together. I watched this. Well, it's not going anymore. As a side note, BuzzFeed Unsolved true crime show, and I did coincidentally watch the BuzzFeed Unsolved episode about William Desmond Taylor, the person who was murdered that she was kind of associated with in that murder. So just at the end of the film, when that which I thought was a fun kind of twist of just telling us what happens to each character, and then that went to her character, and it's like, oh, she never directed and was never in the career again, and she was involved with like a drug and murder scandal. I was like, interesting.
Yeah, things went downhill for Mabel.
Things went downhill for her, and it kind of connected a few dots of something else I was familiar with in the Hollywood true crime scene. So I was like, interesting connecting of the dots.
We have Kevin Kline is in this as Douglas Fairbanks. A very young Mila Jovovich. Kevin Dunn plays J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, I did recognize him.
Yeah. Diane Lane is in this. Most recently known, I think best known as Martha Kent, Superman's mother in the Justice League, Man of Steel, DC universe.
I think I recognize her as being the mom in Jack with Robin Williams.
Yep, and there's that. And
sorry, did you... I'm not familiar with this name, so I think you said this, and then I didn't went over my head, but who's the guy from X-Files?
Duchovny. David Duchovny's in this.
You said that guy. Right?
No, not yet. No.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was getting there. Yep. Calm down. Nancy Travis, who is sort of more best known for playing the female lead opposite in the Tim Allen, what was that show called? Last Man Standing?
Oh, okay.
It was kind of like his spin-off reboot, not really Home Improvement, but also kind of still Home Improvement.
Right.
There's James Woods.
James Woods. Yeah.
He plays the lawyer working against Charlie in the courtroom scene. Okay. He's also the voice of Hades from the Hercules movie. No way. If you go into that scene knowing that that's who he is, that's all you can hear. Because he's just got that voice.
Right.
As you said, we've got David Duchovny is in this. Again, in sort of like a blink and you miss it. Like there's a lot of blink and you miss it kind of appearances in this. And so that's kind of the big ones, I think.
Which is still a lot of names.
Still a lot of names. Yeah. And I'm just trying to look up the guy that played Sidney. Is he Paul Reese?
Yeah.
Is he really big and known for anything? Not really. Kind of looking at it here.
Yeah.
Couple episodes of Murdoch Mysteries.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He played Beethoven in a Beethoven miniseries back in the mid-2000s. Okay. I may have seen that. That would have been sort of the time of school where your music teacher was showing you movies about Bach and Mozart and all those things. But yeah, so that's kind of it. That's kind of it in a nutshell. Big cast. Big cast.
I would say so. Yep.
Obviously directed by Richard Attenborough, the late great. And yeah. So my beefs.
Sure.
I have two. And they're sort of like, in some ways, they're tied together by my solution for them. Right? Like they're two separate issues, but my solution for one also kind of fixes another. And so they're not totally disconnected. Issue number one is that I didn't like the movie just kind of feels very discombobulated from a flow standpoint. It's a little all over the place.
Sure.
In that you know, sometimes it'll be like, 3 years later. And in that 3 years later section of the film, it's like 90 seconds of screen time. And then we're on to a different time period. Like, it just kind of felt like there was a lot of scenes in this where they were they're like, we feel like this is an important part of exposition, so we're going to show it, but we're not going to flesh this out into an actual story.
Right.
Or a scene, or, you know, whatever. And it kind of happened over and over and over and over. And as a result, I found it easy to get lost. I found it easy not to understand, okay, is this wife 2? Is this wife 3? Okay, did those two get married? What is the, you know, what? And then at times it also kind of relied a little bit too much on, like, again, in this sort of like not giving things time to breathe and allowing you to understand the story. There were times where I found like they were using terminology that was period accurate, but which, as you should, but sometimes did it in a way that unless you were in the know and understood terminology from that time, from the 20s, then you didn't know what they were talking about. You didn't understand what was going on. So that's the one. The other is that, and my solution for that is one of two things.
Sure.
You either take the film and narrow your scope. So instead of covering the whole life of Chaplin in 2 hours and 20 minutes, you choose a section of his life.
Yeah.
And you focus on that. Kind of like what Walk the Line did.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like Walk the Line ends when Johnny Cash is in like his 30s. Like it's not, it doesn't delve past, you know, what it chooses a section of it, and this is what it focuses on, and that's the story it tells. Bohemian Rhapsody did the same thing, right? And so that to me, I think narrowing your scope. You can still show him as a kid, and you can still show it at the end when he's an old man.
Well, that's what I was just thinking. Because if you narrow your scope, you lose. The thing I'd worry about is losing the impact of that final scene.
But I just think like the meat of your film, like if you've got 5 minutes at the beginning that's him as a kid and you introduce the issue with the mother, and then you've got 5 or 10 minutes at the end that is him, you know, kind of looking back on whatever and going and accepting his Academy Award and all of this stuff, you can still do that, but then have the meat of your film be more condensed to a smaller window.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need all these little 30-second connecting scenes.
Yeah.
The other solution, and this is not a viable solution, is if you are going to show this, the film just needs to be an hour and a half longer, which it was never going to be an option. But if you've got scenes that are, to quote the film, not being left on the cutting room floor, if you've got scenes that you're including, and because of time restraints, because of whatever, it ends up being a 30-second conversation just to throw some exposition at you. You either need to cut that, or you need to lengthen your film and flesh out these scenes so that we understand, we care, and we know, you know, like, if I were to ask you right now, like, what were the story points that happened with wife 1? What were the story points that happened with wife 2? You probably don't know.
No.
Because it all kind of gets blurred together because they're all happening so fast, so rapid fire. These little glimpses, like tiny little short stories that are being thrown at you. So that's my first beef. The other beef, and
before you get into that, I do see where you're coming from, and I think you would just have to be so careful. And you said this, so it is possible, but yeah, you really have to be careful because you don't want to skim over too much of the beginning, because then if you skim over that, the ending gets less impactful.
Yeah,
and I think it'd be balancing a fine fine combination of how much you condense in the middle and kind of focus without losing the things on the periphery.
Yeah.
And I honestly felt kind of the opposite. I really thought this movie had an interesting narrative, and I loved the narrative as it moved along, kind of jumping around, like you said, because you get this biographer and he kind of sets the pace of the movie by prompting at all these kind of key events, and you kind of jump to significant moments and in points in his life, and you get these jumps in time. And I think it's maybe, I'm not going to argue with it and say it's good filmmaking and you're saying it's not or anything like that. I think it maybe just kind of, again, scratches an itch that I like in some films where it is fragmented and jumping around, but I kind of do like seeing a character where they make a decision and say, yeah, I left Britain and left her behind, and I was going to hope she waited for me. And then you flash forward to the future and he's an old man by himself, and you realize, well, that hasn't shown us yet, but I don't think that actually happened. And
right.
You know, where you see real-time decisions and then you see the consequences decades later, kind of like you saw in True Detective when you have multiple timelines. You just get an interesting layering of characters when you see that. So anyway, I think that's just opposite of how I saw it and how you saw it, and I think I just like that in movies when it is done, and it is done okay. You know, could it have been done better? Probably, but I think I liked it a bit more than you did from the sounds of it.
Well, and I think the way to do it better, because I do like that you had this biographer who is there kind of setting the pace. Mm-hmm. I think for the most part, the scenes that I'm kind of talking about are like scenes, like maybe there wasn't enough of the biographer, right? Maybe sometimes because he was there sometimes, and every time he set up a scene, it made sense. This is the scene that we're seeing is an answer to this question that's being asked.
Right.
But there was a lot of times where it would do a time jump, or we would see several of these little expositional scenes, and it had been a while since we touched back in with Anthony Hopkins. And I'm like, so do you know what I mean? Like sometimes the film just kind of forgot he was there.
Let's get the story back on track with him kind of reining things in almost.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that would have helped. The other thing that I have that again would be fixed by sort of taking and condensing the film was I didn't feel like we got enough of, like, yes, this movie served as a deeper window into the story of Chaplin that you don't know. And that's important. It's important, like, that's the identity that this film needed to have. But I felt like in doing so, it didn't spend enough time on the parts of Chaplin that we already know. The parts of Chaplin that were those feel-good things, the stuff that would have drawn you in the first place. So yes, we get to see some of him on the set making the iconic films that we know and love, but not a lot of it. Like, we just didn't get enough of, you know, Charlie Chaplin on-screen recreations of iconic Charlie Chaplin films. And so, again, by taking it and condensing the story, that you would have had more time for that. You would have been allowed to hone in on that a little bit more. Because ultimately, like, without that narrator constantly, or the biographer constantly coming in to set things up, there are several scenes, like even scenes that I really liked. Some of my favorite scenes where I was like, oh, that was intense. That felt like a really great, captivating scene. Ultimately, I walked away from going, well, but it didn't need to be there. It didn't serve anything. I have got two examples of scenes that I really like, but ultimately, they don't do anything for the story. They don't progress the story. They're not really needed at the end of the day. And if you took them out, those impactful moments wouldn't be there, but it wouldn't take away from the impactful ending. Number one, is him playing on the beach with his kids with the ball. And then the ex-wife comes to pick them up. It's a great scene. And then the scene ends with him, like just sort of showing off that, yes, he's a man whore. And that was kind of, I think, really the only purpose that scene served. But that had already been established. That he had this ongoing issue, and that it was either bound to or was getting him in trouble. Right? So you take that scene out. Like, I liked that scene. I really liked that scene.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be there. It doesn't serve any real... You don't... There's enough other things in the film that are saying that same thing that it's redundant. It's a redundant scene.
I don't know. The more that you're talking about this, I kind of forgot about that scene, but I think it's important. I think it really, kind of like I was saying, The Great Gatsby comp, where you've got this character who's flawed. Obviously his glaring flaw is that he's this... I don't know what to call it, a womanizer. Like, he married them all, but like whatever you'd classify it as. He's obviously just got some womanizing habits. And, I think it just shows his duality of, he's an attentive father and he's caring, and he's got this past traumatic childhood of a mother who was, basically he was alone and raised himself in some capacities. And at the same time, he is this flawed human being with a problem.
Right.
And I think I just really thought that fueled into the whole character study of seeing the two sides of him in a very small scene, a short scene. So I would argue that I disagree with that. So then
keep that one, but remove a couple of the other 8 scenes that explain that he's a womanizer and that he's got this issue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you could be right there. With the number of wives he had, we did see like all of them.
We saw all of them. We saw every person that he took to bed. We saw all of this stuff. The other scene, and this is painful because it's maybe my favorite scene in the movie. Okay. And it's impactful in the moment. Don't get me wrong. It's not like a dead, boring, awful scene.
Sure.
But it really doesn't need to be like, it's reiterated again in the end credits where they're showing you all of those things. And it would have been fine just to have that information there. Ultimately, if you were trying to condense and hone and make the film feel less all over the place. It's the scene where he's on the train and he finds out that Irish girl, his first love, is dead. Amazing scene. Amazing scene. I really loved it. Really, really loved it. But ultimately, in the grand scheme of like, what story is this film telling? What is the finish line that you're trying to get to? That scene doesn't serve it. Right? And so I think the film is full of all of these little great, fantastic, special moments. That I enjoy all of them, but they're just something. I don't know if it's some connective tissue that's missing. I don't know if it's just like kind of all over the place. Again, I enjoyed this film enough that had this been a ridiculous 3.5 hour film, I think I would have enjoyed it more.
If it had been really fleshed out and well done.
Yeah, because it's not like spots. I didn't want these moments. I just wanted these moments to be more fleshed out. Yeah. If you're going to tell the whole story, then tell the whole story.
Yep.
Right? Because all of a sudden I'm like, okay, whoa, now he's got gray hair. Like, what has just happened? And okay, so like, okay. Right. But then the weird things that it chooses to like skip over where, you find out in the end, he's like him and his third wife had 8 kids together. I'm sorry. Excuse me?
Yeah, exactly.
He what?
Yeah. Like, pardon?
Where the hell were they? Knowing that Geraldine Chaplin, the oldest of those 8 children, was born in 1944. Well, the film wraps up in like the 1960s.
Yeah.
So she's 24 when he accepts that Oscar. Where the hell is she?
Yeah.
And so it just like it felt weird, the things that they chose to focus on, and didn't flesh them out enough. Like didn't give enough meat to, you know.
So let's back this train up a bit, so to speak, and that's no pun because the scene you referenced was on a train. But I think I'm willing to agree with you here, and it's kind of a coincidence because my example was bringing up that exact same scene. So I think big picture, if I had to label big things, you know, if you're looking at a pair of dress pants, good example, and you go, those are nice dress pants, like really, you look sharp, you look professional, but the bottoms aren't hemmed, and they've got like frayed bottoms, and they're kind of just a little too long, and they drag in the mud a little bit. And when someone's walking by, they're first drawn to like, whoa, those are really good dress pants, and then you look closer and you're like, oh, but they're a little rough around the edges. They just need to be finished a little bit.
Yeah,
I think that's the way this is with this film. So I think big picture, I think things like, say, the cinematography, you know, was adequate, but I think it could have been a little bit more artistically done. And for me, a big thing that was could have been a bit more emotional would be the soundtrack was underwhelming. And so when all these things interlock and work together, a perfect example is the one you just gave, where all those facets weren't interlocking. So on the train, which I think should have been one of the most defining parts of the movie, where he has this romantic flair die in the flu epidemic, I felt this building like in the milliseconds all leading up to this, where you were getting detail by detail, and then I kind of felt just the hammer coming down, and something about it just wasn't woven to the emotional and climactic head that it really should have in that moment. And I don't know if it was I think the soundtrack in the moment was underwhelming. Maybe just the cutting and the way the scene played out was a little bit underwhelming. And I feel like that was just such a misplayed moment that needed to be in the film, but should have been done in a more, I don't know what, but in a more significant, impactful way. And so that was an example of, for me, where just it felt so unfinished, where you had all the ingredients to be an emotional moment, and then it just kind of fizzled into just passing, and it was more just information passing, less than emotional significance. And even when you have this moment where he is, you know, just crouched in the hall, crushed by this, and someone's like, hey, are you okay? And he is like, oh, well, I have to smile or something like that. And then he gets off the train and is hiding this pain, and goes on to say, I basically found I had no home anymore because even people in his, like, people at that bar mistreated him. All these moments, I'm just like, okay, this is just needing to be hit as a home run, and it's not. So,
yeah, because that bar scene had all the ingredients to be a really impactful moment. And I do really like that scene, but it just didn't, like, it just barely missed the mark, I think.
Yeah, and same with where he had to just put on a brave face and smile in the public, but was emotionally cut inside. Like, all these things where, yeah, I agree. It's just wasn't quite finished to the degree that I would have needed it to if it was a top 10 film or emotionally significant. So I guess I can hear what you're saying on that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a shame.
It is. But I do have, there are good things about this film. For me, that covers all the bad stuff. Maybe there's more bad stuff.
Yeah, and I got good stuff too. So, but hit me with what you got.
Well, I think if I had to summarize it, it's in two things that I would say that are good, that I haven't mentioned before, but all these ticking the boxes of a character study that I like in period piece and all that kind of stuff. I do think the surrealness of where he found his hat and his cane, just as a moment in the film, I felt was so apart from anything we saw in the rest of the film. You know, we see all the moments of, you know, in the beginning, the black and white and going to color, or the fast motion music only moments that are kind of nods to his films. But this was just so unique and kind of just felt so apart that I really enjoyed that scene. Mm-hmm. But on a bigger picture, one of the reasons I liked this movie was just the melancholic tone And something that the soundtrack did do for me at times was add to that melancholic tone. And I really felt with that tone, even in the moments when Chaplin was succeeding, whether it be for the moments of joy when he was in the early parts of a relationship or succeeding in his business of being an actor, I never really got to enjoy it because just with the undertones that the music and the story was feeding, or jumping to the future where you see maybe this more of a broken man who's kind of reflective on his time. All his successes, I was never able to enjoy as a viewer. And when I was thinking about that, I thought that was kind of ironic or coincidental, because he himself even mentioned that to Anthony Hopkins, where Anthony Hopkins was like, hey, did you ever put your feet up and, really just enjoy the moment? And Chaplin was like, no, I was always looking to do the next thing. I didn't have time to enjoy the highs. I was just on to the next thing and couldn't celebrate my victories. And so I think for me, that's how I experienced it. I was never able to enjoy the moment. I was always going, okay, but when's it going to come crashing down next to the next cyclical thing that went wrong? And so I felt like that almost of a connection with Chaplin in a way, so to speak. So I feel like just as a whole, and there wasn't just one moment where that happened, that's where the film succeeded for me.
I see. Yeah. Interestingly, I found that moment really jarring. I think it stuck out for me in a bad way.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just like...
Yeah.
Just because it was the only moment where it happens, where you get that sort of super realism stuff flying onto him, And so to me, it just felt like...
out of place?
It just felt like an identity crisis moment for the film.
Right, maybe that just one and done kind of, yeah, that could be.
Yeah. I don't know. Just didn't, yeah.
I feel like when I said I like it, I feel it's another example of maybe being unfinished, and kind of like you're saying, maybe if it had been touched on more than once, of having these surreal moments in different parts of his life, that was kind of then a connecting part, it would have been more impactful. But just as a one and done, yeah, it does stand out, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So that, and the only other gripe I have, this is a tiny one, is the whole like weird Star Wars transitions, the weird like panning swipes, or like book page turns or whatever. There's just a lot of weird transitions that they chose.
I don't know what that falls under, because it's not really cinematography. I guess like editing. I don't know.
No, it was editing. It was a creative decision
editing?
That was
made. Is that
made
what
in
you'd classify it as editing?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
yeah.
I would agree. The editing was subpar.
Yeah, and it would have been that would have been the decision of Richard Attenborough.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So it's not just like, some kid in the editing room thought, this will be fun.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Right. But it just, I don't know. Yeah. Didn't land for me.
I'm actually glad you brought that up, because that was a problem. Not a huge problem for me, but I did not enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. So just kind of was what it was, I guess. Yep. Things that I really like. Again, the acting. I thought everyone did a fantastic job in this role. I think for the early 90s, it was pretty impressive makeup that they put on him to age him. It seemed,
Yes. I think, sorry, I agree with you. For the early 90s, it was good. I think this is an example of... I would like to see this movie made in modern day and with a larger budget. So when I think of, say, The Great Gatsby, it had a budget of like 130 million. And when I think of like Interstellar, where they do different things, or Inception of different characters aged, I think that was adequate the way they did Robert Downey Jr., but with a bigger budget in modern day, I think it could have been better.
Right. I found that it when the movie started, like it was made in 93, but something about, I don't know if it was the lenses they were using or the cinematography or what it was, but especially in like the opening scenes, there were like darker city street scenes, or, you know, like, I don't know what it was. Some of the darker indoor scenes. If you had told me that this film was like from an image quality and cinematography standpoint, there were many moments where if you had told me that this was like 10 years to 15 years older than it was, I would not have argued. I would have gone, okay, yeah. Like it felt like, compared to the other 90s films we've been watching, it just felt like a bigger leap in film aesthetic than, it just felt like the biggest leap, right? Like it's been kind of going back in time for us. It's been this gradual burn up until this point. You know, the slow evolution where, you know, okay, it's a little older, we're getting a little older. And then this just felt like, you know, it just felt like a big jump. Like at times it looked like the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka movie. Like it just had this like big change for me. But I don't know, that could just be me. You know, I don't know. I love the acting. I thought the soundtrack was great.
Before you talk about the soundtrack, can I just say, this is a backhanded compliment, I guess, but the childhood acting part, or the childhood part of the movie, made me appreciate the Robert Downey Jr. acting more. I felt those scenes were just not the best, honestly. I felt the movie kind of dragged during that time. So
really?
I'm just saying, as a backhanded compliment, really enjoyed the Robert Downey Jr. moments.
Huh. Yeah, those, they didn't stick out to me as subpar in any way, but so you know, I love the music, I love the acting. I did like the dialogue. I thought it was like discombobulated, I guess. And ultimately the moments where they were creating well-known historical moments, like sort of shot for shot, they did a fantastic job, right? Whether it was like those moments where like everybody knows Charlie Chaplin's film The Great Dictator, right? Where he's dressed up as Hitler and he blah blah blah. Yeah. So seeing him piece together his idea for that, and seeing him really struggle with the concept, the idea of Nazis, and really feeling personally moved by that I loved. Yeah. I loved that. Yep. Right? You can go on and watch on YouTube, you can watch his appearance at the Academy Awards and actually see his speech, which you don't get to see in the film. And find out that, yeah, like Robert Downey Jr.'s voice, like he nailed this. Nailed it. He sounds just like him. And there's very few moments in this film, whether it's like a grunt or it's just like some sort of guttural noise that Robert Downey Jr. makes in this, where you can kind of go, okay, I can hear a little bit of RDJ in that. For the rest of the time, like if this was an audiobook, you wouldn't walk away from it going, wow, it sounds like Robert Downey Jr. Like he really lost himself in this role. And so, yeah.
That's interesting.
So I love that stuff. I think that's kind of all I have to say, I think.
Cool.
Yeah. Do you have anything else?
I think that's about it. You know, I think I'm going to give it a bit of a teaser to a small bonus episode we'll be recording and releasing in the future. I do feel as iconic as Charlie Chaplin was, and I'm not taking away from his career in any way, I just look at the type of comedy that was like slapstick, you know, close to vaudeville when the early silent movies were coming out, where it's all slapstick and kind of, to me, just not my cup of tea. I just look at entertainment that I consume in my life at this point in my life, and I go, wow, I find this more entertaining than anything I could have watched if I lived in the 20s. And that's all I'll say. Just,
all right.
Yeah.
All right.
I think I would have, obviously at the time I would not have been bored because that's all I would have known. But if I had to go back in time and live there, I think I would be bored.
Quite possibly, yeah. She's like, I think I should like watching the waves. And I'm like, yeah, you guys don't have like Netflix. Like, like it was an actual, not like, not a realization quite to that extent, but I was like, huh, yeah, you just got to find ways to entertain yourself. Like, not a lot for you to do.
Okay.
But, all right, scale of 0 to 10, sir. How would you rank the film Chaplin?
I had a lot of trouble with this. I was honing between a 7 and an 8. I think I'm going to stick with a 7. It's still good. Still really enjoyed watching it. But I think for all the reasons we outlined, or at least I outlined, and the things I agreed with of yours, I don't think I can give it higher than a 7. And it's definitely not in the 9 or 10 category. But it was close. If some things had been done more well, I easily could have seen this being a 9 or a 10. And been a top 10 film, but it was just a little too rough around the edges, a little bit too much of unfinished things. But I definitely am happy I finally watched this. Like you, it was on my radar for quite some time, and I am very intrigued to watch it. Might not need to watch it again, or at least not in the near future. I'm not sure it has the rewatch value, but definitely really enjoyed it. And just a lot of good things. I'd say the good outweighs the bad for sure. What do you give it out of 10?
I give it a 5.5. 5.5 out of 10.
Harsh. Okay. Not harsh, but a bit not as good as I gave it.
Not as good, which I think we knew that's where this was headed. Yeah, it just wasn't top notch for me. I had a lot of all the components were there. All the recipe ingredients were there. Mm-hmm. Just something in the cooking process.
Yeah, I do.
Just didn't pan out the way I would have liked it to. So, which is unfortunate because I anticipated, I went into it with a lot, big hopes. Really thought it was just gonna, make that top favorite film list. But, ultimately it did not. So, yeah. What'd you watch this week?
A few things. So I watched Jurassic World, the 2015 reboot, sequel, requel, whatever you'd call it. Obviously the fourth film in the franchise. I gave it a 5 out of 10. It's better than 5 and 6. Those were awful. And I feel like Jurassic World kind of started off well, and then as the movie went on, kind of pulled the Titanic where, things start well and then the boat sinks and everyone dies and everyone's sad. Kind of the same with this movie. It had glimmers of, doing the series justice and giving some fun nods and having some interesting characters. And then as the movie went on, it just kind of fell into these really, identity crisis of what made Jurassic Park 1 and 2 so good, and kind of falling away from that and streaming its own path and not in a good way. So Jurassic World, 5 out of 10. It's got as much good as much bad, but the series definitely goes down from there. I watched a 2017 film called American Made, one of those based on a kind of true story and made into a Hollywood interpretation. So it's a story of this American pilot who becomes a drug runner for the CIA during the 1980s kind of drug wars that took place in Latin America. And it stars Tom Cruise. That's why I watched it. I'm still on my Tom Cruise binge. Had Tom Wall Gleason. And those would be the main names in it. I give it a 6 out of 10. I was somewhat entertained throughout it. I was entertained by Tom Cruise's performance. But ultimately, I thought I don't know. I just felt a little unsatisfied at the ending of the film, and it was bright and vibrant from a cinematography perspective, but maybe just a bit light and fluffy as far as context or, as far as significance and where they took the characters in the story. So 6 out of 10. And then a couple rapid fire ones. Getting ready for the new Indiana Jones, I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, gave it an 8 out of 10. Still so iconic, still so classic. You watch it and you go, wow, this is cliche. And then you realize, no, like these are the things that made these tropes cliche in the action genre back in the day. So it's very well done. Steven Spielberg classic. I watched The Big Short, which is a favorite of mine, directed by Adam McKay. And I still love it. I gave it a 9 out of 10. It's got such an amazing cast. All the actors flex their abilities with Christian Bale, Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, Brad Pitt. And Adam McKay does this incredible job of bringing something that was so pivotal, that was the financial crisis, and brings about all the information that was related to it. And it's boring information for most people, and he brings it to a fun context that's easy to follow or easier to follow. And just from a filmmaking feat, from an enjoying watching feat and an acting feat, even the editing too. The editing is impeccable that they do, and it helps the narrative and the storytelling. I just love everything about it. I could talk about it. I watch it about once a year, it feels like, just because I think it's so well made. And the last thing I watched was a 2006 film called Deja Vu, starring Denzel Washington, Val Kilmer, of all people, and then a few other smaller actors like Bruce Greenwood. I gave it a 6 out of 10. It's a movie about this ferry that gets bombed in New Orleans, and the film... trying to see what it would be classified as. Would it be classified as sci-fi or action? Regardless, it's got some interesting narrative that is reminiscent in some things that are seen in Interstellar, and with just some time and space principles. And it's interesting for 2006. It's kind of like Chaplin for its time. It was good. It had some interesting narrative, but it was a little rough around the edges. And when I watch it, for everything that was good, there would be a scene that was just kind of very corny, mid-2000s actiony. And, it's a 6 out of 10 for a reason. For everything that's good about it, there's some corniness to it too. So if nothing else, it's just a fun action flick in Denzel Washington during his prime, where he was I won't say an actor or a movie star, but he was definitely a stud in the industry. So a lot of movies that I just went over, but that is what I watched this week. What did you watch?
Again, I'm just kind of continuing on in the MCU rewatch thing, and I can never remember where I left off.
Ooh.
So
it's been a hot second.
If I'm missing some, or I'm repeating some, then
Yeah.
I don't know. Forgive me. But I watched Captain America: Civil War.
Okay. Yep.
Then Black Widow in its rightful place.
Yeah.
The first Black Panther. Spider-Man: Homecoming. Doctor Strange. Thor Ragnarok.
Yes.
And Ant-Man and the Wasp. The first.
So that's
not the newest one.
So that's like number 2.
Yes.
Sorry, 2 of the Ant-Man.
2 of the Ant-Man films. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means the next one's like when we next talk.
Yeah.
I will have watched Infinity War and Endgame.
Interesting.
I've made it. We're at the moment. It's happening. I'm excited. So yeah, I think that's it. We're continuing to watch The Simpsons.
How far are you in the series?
Season 7?
Oh, okay.
I think.
Cool.
I think 7.
Yeah.
So, ticking away. taken away. It's what we watch during dinner instead of communicating like actual
Sometimes
people.
you just need to decompress.
Yeah. So there you go. All right.
Your MCU prompted me of something I kind of watched.
Okay.
What's the third Ant-Man movie? Ant-Man
Quantumania.
I don't know if I'd consider that I watched it. My wife and I put it on the TV, and I fell asleep twice. And every time I woke up, I like sat up and I was like, eh. And then I went back asleep.
Yeah.
And then, but the final time I woke up, there was about like a third of the movie left. And I was like, listen, let's go to bed. And then the following 2 days, at every point, my wife's like, oh, should we finish this? And I truly just said, nah, I'm good. I literally just said that.
It's pretty, yeah. No one can fault you.
Very good. Very good.
All right, sir. You ready to wrap it up, or you got something to?
I'm ready to wrap it up, and we'll move right along.
Oh, okay. I thought you were. What are you teasing?
Well, we'll record a bonus episode.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to tease that, but
I should do that a bit more. Well, actually, let me do my thing.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for voting. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for rating and reviewing. Thank you for checking out our Patreon page, our merchandise page. Our Patreon page is a way for you to support the show, and it's a way to give you some perks back, whether it's bonus voting power, whether it's the occasional bonus episode like we're about to record, whether it's checking out the occasional video stream. We do like to throw some things on the Patreon page, and we just do appreciate you showing your support. And until next time, where we talk about some movie news, where we also will be continuing in Mission Impossible, and where we, we've got some new releases coming out this summer, so just stay tuned. You never know which we're going to review. And a bit of a teaser, I'm going to play a Would You Rather question with Brady as it relates to art and entertainment in the 1920s.
Was you going to do that over on Patreon?
We're going to do that on Patreon.
All right.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I think. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where my excitement level is at. My curiosity is peaked. That's all I can say.